Bring the lights down low, it's time to show. Lights, camera, you know what we mean. Behold the magic of the silver screen. Some movies rock, some movies shock, they're powerful, alright. We cover them all on your favorite part. So many movies we can choose, even when you win, you lose. Life moves pretty fast, some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no math, it's the 30-something movie podcast. Be excellent to each other, peace out and word to your mother. They're from the best decades, movie magic that never fades. Lightsabers clash, phasers set to stun. Action packed from dusk till dawn. We have deep thoughts and questions three. Come share our love of the movies we see. Life moves pretty fast, some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no math, it's the 30-something movie podcast.
It is the 30-something movie podcast, and I always feel a little bit like we're going into some like 90s album when that guitar riff starts.
Right at the end of or at the beginning of the song, or the thing at the end?
Towards the end.
Yeah, it's when it goes up high like that. Yeah,
it kind of feels like it should be on like the Mallrats soundtrack.
I agree.
Yeah.
My favorite line in this is when it's lightsabers clash, phasers set to stun. But the way that, and it's really weird, not weird in a bad way, but it's really interesting because the way the lyrics come out is it's phrased lightsabers clash, phasers set to stun. It's like three different phrases, and it's not lightsabers clash. It's lightsabers clash, phasers set to stun. And I'm just like, and when I listen to it, it really takes my I like that song, man. Like, nice. AI did a pretty good job with that. That's fun.
I mean, John did a really good job with that.
I did a great job. I don't know what you're saying.
John, you did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, John.
But you know what? I agree with you. We should let AI do more things. It can take over anything at once.
We let AI record his own episode.
Oh, maybe. I could probably actually take samples of all of our voices, feed it in, and just like let it go.
You know what? Fire that up there. Like, can you make it do that? Like, have a review like the way Pat would review a movie, right? You can do that.
Guys, I don't want to yuck someone else's yum, so I will say that I love all of the Home Alone movies. I love Home Alone 4, Lost in Tibet. I love. I don't know.
They have Home Alone 4?
Oh yeah, they do.
Really?
They had a bunch of, it's not Lost in Tibet, but it's like a bunch of like straight to video Home Alones came after 1 and 2.
Because he's kind of getting to the age where it's kind of okay for him to be home.
It's, well, after Home Alone 2, I think it was other Culkins. I don't think it was Macaulay anymore after Home Alone 1 and 2. I think he went to his younger siblings.
Home Alone 3, I don't think was a Culkin at all.
Oh, it was not?
I don't think so.
Okay. I haven't kept up with all those. I know my kids have watched them on Netflix or wherever they were streaming at some point, but I'm not sure I bothered to step in and watch with them. But we're not here to talk about the Culkins or the Home Alone cinematic universe. We're here to talk about Maverick from 1994. The movie that makes us want to go play cards, even though I really don't like cards.
The movie that made me wish I knew how to play poker well.
Well, there's that. I think I would like playing cards if I was any good at it, but I lose every time.
Ain't you going to look at your card? Look at your card.
Yeah. Whereas, see, in my case, I just know I'm going to lose. I don't know someone has cheated. I'm like, it's not going to matter. I don't need to look at my card. I will not have a winning hand. This has become a running gag in our family that if we play cards, Dad will consistently lose.
Yeah.
So the benefit is, the whole family knows I'm not going to be gambling all of our money away.
Well, there's that.
So,
that's good.
Little things. It's the little things in life. So I haven't introduced anybody else yet, but you can hear the dulcet tones of the other gentlemen that are here with me. And Jeff is here too. Jeff, how are you doing?
Hey, thanks, man.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that
Wow.
warm welcome.
You're welcome. Well, you're
Oh,
outside, so
bitch.
you're already warm.
I am out. Well, it's a little chilly out here, actually.
Wait, what did you
But
just call Pat?
I said it's a little chilly out here.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something
We're
before
just gonna
that.
leave it at that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Everyone's on edge tonight. Did you guys have like a meeting at work today or something?
Well, I mean, I went to work today.
Okay, well, I guess.
Sometimes that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm enjoying the outdoors this evening, and hopefully, you guys, as I said to John, if the ambient noise gets to be too much, I don't think I'm in a direct O'Hare landing strip, but might get some planes overhead pretty shortly. So, if there's any extra noise that's making it difficult for you guys to hear, let me know, and I'll sulk down to my man cave.
All right. Okay. If there are any Boeings and any, like, I don't know, doors fall in your backyard, we'll let you know if we happen to see that behind you.
Yeah.
Are the ones that have the
Thank
doors
you.
pop off?
Yeah,
Oh.
if you see anything going on
Oh.
behind me, that would be
Yeah.
very helpful.
Doors, wheels, whatever. Yeah.
Anything dangerous, we'll warn you.
Patrick, how are you doing?
Great.
How was your summer been
Life
so
is-
far? Have you had music
Summer's
camp?
been-
You've been at music camp with kids, right?
Yes, we've
Yeah.
had the first week of music camp,
Nice.
and we are in the second week of music camp. And there's actually this year, it's by a strange quirk of, well, I guess holidays and other things and the way decisions are made. We have our second week of music camp is actually split into 2 weeks. So if you can understand that. So we have 2 days this week and 2 days next week.
Your second week is 2 weeks.
Yes.
No, it's 2 days. 2 days. It's same as summer school.
Yeah.
HEI.
Okay.
So we go Monday, Tuesday, then we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, Saturday, Sunday off,
Oh, gotcha.
4th of July. Then we come back and we do a Monday, Tuesday.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like a 4-2-2.
Okay. All right. So it's not a
Yeah.
2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2?
Thought there was going to not be math.
Or was it? Yeah, thank you. Or a 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2. Yeah. No. Well, good. Awesome. And Dennis, how are you?
Good, doing good. That's all I got to say.
Living the dream? That's all you got to say? Okay.
That's all I got to say.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll let the people know Bo may be joining us. Bo had something, a family thing to go to tonight, so he may be joining us just a little bit later. If not, I do believe he did text us. I think one of you guys said he did text us his answers to the 3 questions for this evening. So we will, if Bo is not here to share his own answers, then we'll share those with you. But otherwise, we'll soldier on. So real quick, we spoil freely as we talk, so just be aware if we mention a movie that you do not want to hear anything about, just hit that little skip ahead button a couple of times. Should be good to go. Make sure you visit our website, 30podcast.com. You can leave a roiding. You can leave a roiding. Or a vase mail, or I don't know. I could try speaking, and that would work even better.
John, are you okay?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Am I okay? Are any of us okay?
You beat Medicare.
You know. I know we're all dying in the Sylvia Plath sense of the word, but
Beat Medicare.
yeah.
All right.
You could,
Okay. I'm gonna bring Dennis back on the rails here. I did want to say one thing about summer music camp, and I want to share this with you guys. One of the tunes that we're doing at summer music camp, and it's the delay, and I apologize. It's called Springtime Ride. And what it's supposed to be is the composer wrote a piece of music that's supposed to be the excitement you get when you were a kid taking off on your bicycle into the neighborhood.
Oh.
And she actually puts, and it's actually the gal that wrote it I went to college with, and she actually puts in the description of, it's kind of like back in the day when it was be home by the time the street lights turn on kind of thing. And the piece is really cool, and it's got some exciting themes, but it almost sounds like E.T. Like there's little elements. She took like little bits of like the E.T. chord progression and some melodies and fragments and stuff. It's not like a direct copy or anything, but it's a really fun piece because it's exactly kind of what we talk about, like, back in our childhood when it was like, go off on your bikes, just disappear, have fun. And It's got little hints of like what we think of with, it's a very cinematic kind of sound to it. So
cool.
That piece has been a lot of fun to play.
Nice.
Is Summer Band going to have a performance at all?
Yeah, Tuesday night, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
July the something.
Where is it? Is it still at South?
Yeah, it'll be at South.
Okay.
It'll be at South, Middle South.
Might have to stop by for that.
And I believe it will be the live streamed as well.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, our movie this time around is Maverick, as I said before. This one came out on May 20th, 1994, rated PG, with a runtime of 2 hours, 7 minutes, directed by Richard Donner, who did Superman and Lethal Weapon. Writer was William Goldman, who did The Princess Bride and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Producer was Bruce Davey, who did Braveheart and The Edge. Composers Randy Newman, who did Toy Story and Monsters, Inc. Cinematographer is Vilmos Zsigmond, who did Close Encounters of the Third Kind and The Deer Hunter. Editor is Stuart Baird, who did Casino Royale and Skyfall. Production company is Warner Brothers. Budget $75 million. Box office $183 million, so it did pretty well. Flickmetrics gives it a 65% over the course of, I think, 4 different websites they averaged together. And CinemaScore gives it an A-. That is, people leaving the theater are polled to ask how they felt about it, and they give it a grade. So it got an A- for that. Mel Gibson plays Bret Maverick, or Burt Maverick, whatever you want to call him. He was in Lethal Weapon and Braveheart. Jodie Foster is Annabelle Bransford. She was in The Silence of the Lambs and Contact. James Garner, who passed away in 2014, was Marshal Zane Cooper. He was in The Great Escape and The Notebook. Graham Greene was Joseph. He was in Dances with Wolves and Die Hard with a Vengeance. Alfred Molina was Angel. He was in Spider-Man 2 and Frida. James Coburn died in 2002, I believe, was Commodore Duval. He was in The Magnificent Seven and Affliction. Dub Taylor died in 1994, was a room clerk. He was in Bonnie and Clyde and The Wild Bunch. Jeffrey Lewis, who passed away in 2015, was Matthew Wicker. He was in Every Which Way But Loose and The Devil's Rejects. Paul Smith passed away in 2012. He was the Archduke. He was in Popeye and Dune. Dan Hedaya played Twitchy. He was in The Usual Suspects and Clueless. Dennis Fimple, who died in 2002, was Stuttering. He was in House of a Thousand Corpses and The Apple Dumpling Gang. Corey Feldman was a bank robber. He was in The Goonies in 1985 and Stand By Me in 1986. Danny Glover was also a bank robber. He was in Predator 2 and Lethal Weapon movies.
Did you guys recognize Maverick's dealer on the boat?
Oh, the dealer on the boat.
Once he's on the Commodore's boat and they've got the tournament started, the dealer, I believe it's the dealer at his table, was the actor that played his Mel Gibson's captain in Lethal Weapon.
Yes. Was that Steve Cahan? Is it Cahan? You say Cahan?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a ton of
A lot of cameos
in this one. Because you got, and I thought the funniest one was Danny Glover, especially because he does get to say his very famous line. Getting too old for this. But yeah, you had like, God, who else did you have? There was Art LaFleur was in there. He was one of the poker players. A bunch of old Western actors. Denver Pyle. Let's see, I think William Marshall, Dennis Fimple. Margot Kidder was in as one of the missionaries. Was it Margaret Mary? Yeah. Was her name? Apparently, there's a cut scene where Alice Cooper was going to be the town drunk. Bunch of country music singers. Waylon Jennings, Kathy Mattea, Reba McEntire, Clint Black, Vince Gill. Bunch of
Uncle Jesse was in there.
Was Uncle Jesse in there too?
Wasn't he the second guy thrown off the boat?
Oh,
I think that was Uncle Jesse.
Was it really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm almost like, I might be wrong, but that sounded like Uncle Jesse.
Okay.
I don't think you're correct there.
Oh.
But it looked like Uncle Jesse then. Shoot.
Like
okay.
It looked like him. I don't think that was him though.
Okay. That would be cool, but yeah. We'll go back and look.
Trying to think of how old he would have been. Because he looked ancient in the Dukes of Hazzard with the reunion movie that they did. But that was after this.
You know what? You might be right.
I was going to say that was
yeah, because that's Denver Pyle. That's the actor's
Is that what his name is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's just credited as old gambler on Riverboat. So that might have been him. Might have to go and watch that scene again.
Yeah.
I could have sworn. Denver Pyle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Waylon Jennings is
Yeah, because he's listed in this list I have. Denver Pyle is listed as cheating old gambler. So yeah, I bet it was.
Good call, man.
Yeah, nice.
Good call.
You can't throw me in the water. Why? It's not my gun. It's her gun. I'm just holding for her. What about this gun? Well, that gun's mine. But I'm only. Oh my gosh! I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but
That's all right.
I just want to say that the Danny Glover cameo, that was just like, that was awesome. Like that whole thing. I'm like, are they really going to go there? They're really going to go
Well,
there.
Did you recognize the music as well
Yes.
in his cameo?
Yes. Yes.
Like
Who did
the Lethal Weapon theme on guitar.
Yeah.
Who did the music for this movie?
Randy Newman was the composer.
Oh, of course. What great, fantastic music.
Yeah.
Just beautiful sweeping scores that actually did like the old school movie thing where the theme's playing along and then there's danger and you get danger chords and, you know.
Yeah.
So one fun thing, and I kind of stopped the movie to explain this to my family. I may have shared this story before on the show. When I was a little kid, we were living in Texas, and when I was a little kid, one of our projects was we had to, and I think this was maybe first grade, we had to write up a little thing to talk about our name and like if we were named after anybody with our first name, our middle name, you know, things like that. So I remember, and it was on that paper where like at the very top of the paper, there's a square where you can draw a picture, and then there's the little spots on the bottom where you can practice your cursive handwriting. It's got all the little, you know, dotted lines and everything. And I remember I'm doing this at home, like I'm working on this at home to finish it up to take it to school. And I'm explaining like, well, my name, John, my dad's name is John, my grandpa's name is John. There's a lot of Johns in our family. And my first and middle name are John Wesley. And the church that we go to is called the Methodist Church. And one of the founders of that was a John Wesley. And there's people with the name Wesley in my family. And so my dad goes, well, you forgot, like there's a famous person that you're named after. And I totally thought he was being serious. So in one of my little pages, in my little project here, I start to write down, my dad's explaining to me, he's, yeah, write down that you're also named after John Wesley Hardin. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, jeez.
Because I'm a little first grader and I'm thinking, well, okay, all right.
Oh, man.
So I write down in this
no.
thing that I'm named after John Wesley Hardin, and I'm thinking, yeah, that sounds reasonable. And then I take it to my teacher, and you could just kind of tell, that I could even tell as a little kid that my teacher knew something was off. They were like, wait a minute. Are you really? And in fact, I remember my teacher asking me, are you really named after John Wesley Hardin? And I was like, I don't know. My dad said I was. So that whole thing at the beginning of the movie, when he asked the guy, you know, he's the gunfighter, and he asked him, you know, what's your name? Johnny Hardin. And I'm like, I had to stop the movie. I was like, okay. Everybody in the living room, I'm like, do you remember when I told you the story about my dad telling me I was named after John Wesley Hardin, the notorious gunfighter in the Old West? Same character, same guy.
Yeah.
So the real John Wesley Hardin was notoriously fast, volatile, and deadly. Shot and killed, I believe, more than 40 men before he was shot in the back of the head in 1895 and died from that gunshot wound.
I don't know if I would use the words notoriously fast in describing you, John Wesley Reed.
No, not at all.
Oh, jeez.
That's why you could
geez.
tell. That's why you could tell that was all made up.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
For some reason, I remember that like name being. There was a TV show, or not TV show, maybe a commercial talking about the Wild West or something, and maybe it was a book or a series. I don't know what it was. I remember the phrase, something about John Wesley Harding, something, a guy who once shot a man just for snoring.
Yeah.
Isn't that it? Wasn't there a commercial or something? Anybody remember that phrase going with John Wesley Harding? Something about shooting a man just for snoring?
For some reason, that sounds familiar, but
I think there's a commercial.
And see, that's the problem, because I would have been the guy doing the snoring.
If you snore, how would you do? You know, what do you do?
Huh.
Shoot somebody for that.
Yeah, that does sound a little familiar. Let's see, Jodie Foster's character, some of the scenes where she is stumbling around all over the place, or she's being like pulled in and out of windows, things like that, actually happened because early on when they were filming, it was actually the first scene that she shot. Mel Gibson is supposed to help her down from the stagecoach. Instead, he just takes her parasol and walks away, and she tries to get down on her own and kind of like flops to the ground. So Richard Donner was watching this and loved it so much, he's like, oh, that's staying in the movie right there. And we're going to put more scenes of you stumbling and being pulled through windows and falling down, and I like it. We're going to do more of this. So on a similar theme there, during Marshal Cooper's explanation of the rules and the beginning of the tournament, he actually pulls his own guns. He's got those two guns that he pulls out, and he claims those are the only weapons allowed in the game room. And then when he's putting them away, he drops one of them. You know, somebody hands him his dropped gun. This whole thing was not scripted at all. James Garner actually dropped the prop by accident, but just kind of kept going. And Richard Donner was like, yep, well, that is staying in there too. That is hilarious. I'm keeping it. And they just kind of ran with it. So it sounds like there were a few instances of stuff where Richard Donner just let the cameras roll. He's like, nope, this is good stuff. I'm keeping this in. Which I feel like, if I remember right, was kind of one of his things he did during the Lethal Weapon movies too. It was like, I'm just going to let these guys kind of roll, and some of this stuff, if it's really good, we'll keep it in. A couple other things. Annabelle keeps calling Bret Bert. This is a reference to an episode of the old TV series from the late 50s. I think it might have gone into the early 60s, but at the very least, late 50s. I think 57 was around when it started. There was an episode where a girlfriend of Bret's kept calling him Bert. So that was kind of a running gag to reference back to the show. Little historical piece in here. Many of the cards that were used in the movie have the letters A, K, Q, J, or the numbers on the cards that show their value. But playing cards of the time period would not have had letters or numbers. They only would have displayed the correct number of the symbols on the card. They would not have had any other kind of indicators. So before Neil deGrasse Tyson comes and starts, criticizing the playing cards, I wanted to make sure that was out there.
I want to ask too, in some of the playing scenes, they're like, for dramatic effect in the movie, they're actually breaking like etiquette at the table, right? Isn't it like, when you lay your cards down one at a time, that's like a big no. I forget what that's called.
I think I looked at it. I think it's called slow rolling.
Slow rolling.
And apparently
it was super dramatic.
No-no.
Yeah. And honestly, Mel Gibson deserves like whatever award for just capital A acting with a look in that scene. I mean, that is outstanding when he's looking at, that's awesome. But yeah, the slow rolling, and I might be way wrong because I am not a card player or a gambler, but like when you take your chips and like splay your chips out like that, that's splashing the pot, right? Like you're not supposed to do that either. My understanding. Maybe I'm off with that.
I would say splashing the pot is always wrong.
Okay. But isn't that when you take your chips and you just like, you kind of throw them out there as opposed to like sending them out?
Sure.
I feel like for John, that's one interpretation of it.
Pat doesn't know what to say to that.
I got nothing. I'm thinking of what, but then it's like, okay, it's family friendly. Well, maybe it's, okay.
Fine. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Back to the show.
No, I mean, I believe, and again, for all the years I've spent in the World Series of Poker, I believe most of the things you end up seeing in those card games are for dramatic effect only. You probably would be, run out on a rail if you did that in a real poker game.
Yeah.
So.
Never a good idea to splash. Oh, boy.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, we can give you a quick synopsis. We'll play the trailer for you, and then we'll do kind of a recap, major moments, and then we will tell you a little bit about how we feel about this one. So, in a world of high-stakes poker, Bret Maverick has to outwit the charming con artist Annabelle Bransford and the wily Marshal Zane Cooper. As they navigate deceit and danger, only the sharpest will triumph in this wild Western adventure, and only if they play their cards right.
I'll see your bet, and I'll call. I'm running low on chips here.
Two pair, ace, double queen.
Oh, lucky thing for me, I had 3 sixes. Sorry.
Looks like you broke your losing streak.
Nice pot. I don't see what's so great about it. Whoa, hey, where's the fire, son? I'm a gambler. You're a gunfighter. Fact of the matter is, if I'd have tried to face you down, what chance would I have had? Absolute zero. None, whatever.
Was that fast?
Want to see it again?
Mel Gibson.
Damn thing won't stay in a holster. Whoop!
Jodie Foster.
A silly-looking creature's called Maverick, and my name is Annabelle Bransford. I'll be taking the stage.
Well, so am I.
So am I.
James Garner.
You can relax and enjoy the journey now.
Maverick.
Don't worry, nothing to worry about. I got it all under control.
Yeah, well, I remember my first runaway stage. A Richard Donner film.
Don't you think you should go out there and help him?
Well, I could do that, absolutely, but, after he's worked so hard, he might resent it.
With a little luck, Maverick will be here.
Dealer's choice? Okay, 5 card stud, but no, I think I prefer draw. You gotta learn to loosen up, kid. Have some fun. This is poker.
All right. So our major moments for this one, Bret Maverick, he begins his journey in the Old West. He is on his way to a major 5-card draw poker tournament on the paddle steamer, the Lauren Bell. He's going to prove he's the best card player alive, but is about $3,000 short of the $25,000 entry fee, which if you want to try to calculate that out to today's dollars, I believe it's somewhere around 600 to 700,000. So that's a hefty buy-in.
Yeah, so, my card playing ain't that good.
No. In fact, I believe we have an old Folgers can full of pinto beans upstairs, and that's what we tend to use when gambling. So that's our chips of choice. So he heads to Crystal River to collect some debts and win some poker games. And one of the things I love about every section of this movie is, I mean, he's such a con artist as well, but he's trying to collect his debts from other people. And everybody's got some kind of wild excuse as to why they don't have it. And it's just this comedy of errors for him to try to collect on these debts. So that's always kind of a fun merry-go-round of him trying to collect on these debts. During a poker game in Crystal River, he meets an ill-tempered gambler and the young con artist named Annabelle Bransford. He wins a massive pot from them, but is forced to flee without his winnings when the situation turns just a teensy bit hostile. Maverick, Annabelle, and Marshal Zane Cooper hire a stagecoach where they narrowly escape a fatal plunge into a ravine after the elderly driver dies while they're riding in the stagecoach. And later on, they meet a group of missionary settlers who are robbed by bandits who had been disguised as natives. The trio and the settlers are cornered by a large band of real natives, led by Maverick's old friend Joseph. Maverick fakes his own sacrifice to let the others escape and then is able to collect $1,000 that Joseph owes him by swindling a Russian archduke. That scene was kind of fun, too, because you know that Joseph collects more money than he needs, but there's the constant back and forth of, I was only able to get like 1,000 out of him. Oh, man, I bet I could have gotten 2,000 out of him. Well, he did actually get 2,000 out of him. So that whole back and forth was funny. Still angry over his loss, Angel receives orders to stop Maverick. He and his men capture him and try to hang him, and that's actually where we had started the movie, was him with the noose tied around his neck and on the back of his horse. Maverick does escape after they leave, and still about $2,000 short, he heads to the Lauren Bell. He finds Annabelle on the Lauren Bell, and she's also short of money. So they spot the Archduke aboard. Maverick kind of cons him out of $6,000 by posing as a Bureau of Indian Affairs agent investigating the shooting of natives. Commodore Duval welcomes the competitors. We start the final poker tournament. Cooper oversees security, ensuring that there are no cheaters. Maverick, Angel, Annabelle, and Duval advance to the final game. Maverick and Annabelle share a brief tryst in his room, but she locks him in his room to make him forfeit the game. He does escape and is able to reach the table in time. During the game, he notices the dealer cheating, and with Angel's help, he gets the top card to complete a royal flush, winning that game. During the closing ceremony, Cooper steals the prize money and escapes. He later meets Duval, revealing their plan to steal the money. Maverick tracks them down and takes back the money as well. And when your double crosses have double crosses on top of double crosses, then we reveal at the very, very end that Maverick and Cooper are revealed as father and son. And they have planned this scheme since the beginning. They are relaxing in their bath. Annabelle arrives, steals the prize money, but Maverick reveals that he hid half of it in his boots, promising that the chase to track down the rest of it will be fun. And that is where we end the movie. All right. So we will jump into our deep thought. I think I covered most of the plot for us, so we'll jump into our deep thoughts.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think we got most of it. We'll get any more. Anything we missed will come in the deep thoughts section. So let's jump in the stagecoach and journey down the path to deep thoughts here.
And now, deep thoughts.
I have an opinion on this matter.
Don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think?
I like it a lot.
Wow. It's very deep. Thank you.
So I'm going to change things up a little bit, and over the course of us sharing our deep thoughts, we can talk about the first time we remember seeing this and all that. But I wanted to start with this. Does this feel like, given the people who are starring in this, given the person who directed it, does this feel to you like a Lethal Weapon in the Old West? Or do you feel like it's distinct enough that you wouldn't make that comparison?
I don't know if I've ever made that comparison before. I guess I can see why someone might make that comparison. Stylistically, when you look at it, just going from your main character getting involved in one incident and then another incident and another incident, all trying to lead up to the bigger picture, bigger reveal. I guess you could make that claim that it's Lethal Weapon-esque in that way. I don't know if I'd say that it's Lethal Weapon in the Old West, though.
Okay.
I think
I would say
the only other reason you can say that is because Mel Gibson's in it.
I was gonna say it's Richard Donner, it's Mel Gibson, and then you have even Glover in there for a little bit, but it's like really, I never got the feeling like it was that. I just felt it was more like a nice little kind of love thing to all the older style Westerns and some of that stuff. And it's just fun adventure, action, comedy. It's just a perfect summer movie. So I never really took it as, I feel like there was definitely darker spots in Lethal Weapon. And this, I don't feel has that. So I feel like that part's missing a bit.
Yeah, maybe one of the later Lethal Weapon movies might be where
it's a little more funny or whatever, becomes more comedy, but definitely not one or two.
Yeah,
doesn't have the same tone. Dark. Doesn't have the tone. The tone's very different in this. And like Jeff was saying, it's Richard Donner and it's Mel Gibson in it, and they're obviously Lethal Weapon. So, I can see that. Oh, it's those guys, but I don't feel like it's anywhere, not comparable plot wise. Yeah.
So what was the first time that you saw this movie? Did you see this in the theater? Was this something that you came to later?
I probably saw this in college.
Okay.
At some point. I don't remember in what capacity, but probably in college, because I remember then starting to quote it when I would go to card games. There'd be a lot of quoting of this movie.
Okay. Dennis,
I've been trying to think of that since I saw this again. I can't remember. It's definitely a movie that, with poker, Mel Gibson, James Garner. This is totally like one of my, up my dad's alley as far as movies are concerned. But at this point, I'm also 23. So I don't know if we would have gone together to see that at a theater. And I don't know if I would have gone on my own. I'm in the middle of baseball. I'm playing, so I was trying to think but I definitely saw it with my dad at some point. I just don't remember. I think it might have been at home on VHS,
okay,
or on cable or something. I can't quite remember seeing it in a theater. So I have to go with that. I remember the buzz about it though. I remember seeing it like all on TV, like interviews with, it got pretty good press and, and all the talk shows and everything else. It was a lot of Mel Gibson interviews and featurettes on it. And I remember seeing a lot about this movie in the summer.
Pat, what about you? What was the first time you remember seeing this?
Yesterday.
Oh.
I've never seen this movie before.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I know. And it's honestly, I'm kind of like, and in a way I'm kind of bummed because it's like, I've wasted the last 30 years. I could have been watching this thing like every year. Cause this is like everything you guys are saying. I mean, this is just a fantastic movie, but no, I never saw it. And I'm trying to piece together why. And I just wonder if like many of the friends in the movies that we saw, I wonder if it was more like the sci-fi stuff. We would head out and see, we would watch Aliens, or if we were going to watch a movie, we'd watch Lethal Weapon, or, if we were going to watch a Western, it would be Unforgiven. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just wonder, or Tombstone, I just wonder if we would have gone to the edgier ones first, which is very unfortunate. And then, for older school movies, I mean, my grandfather was a huge fan of the Westerns, and my dad and I just wonder if I can't imagine why my grandfather wouldn't have gone and seen this movie, or my dad, but it's not like they're like, oh, we got to watch this movie. So yeah, it just never, I mean, I was aware of it, all the stuff you're talking about. Like I remember when the interviews came out and all that kind of thing. And before watching it for this podcast, it came on and I only got like a few minutes into it before I was like yanked away. And I was expecting Lethal Weapon in the Old West when I first started watching. But then, when you get with the get-go and you realize, oh, Mel Gibson, he's kind of like, his character seems out of their element. He's not this like tough, steely-eyed, he's going to like big, fight scene and all this kind of stuff. It's more, he's a con man and he's trying to crack jokes to get out. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. this is different. And then I got yanked away and I never got back to the film until this time. And it's, yeah. So
that's interesting because I can never, Pat is like mysterious. I've assumed before in the past movies that you've seen and not seen, and I've been wrong. I think I would have definitely bet you've seen this film.
And I would have too.
Your dad, like you said, or a grandfather, or at the very least, just you.
Yeah. And I love Westerns. I love happy endings. I love James Coburn and James Garner. I mean, it's just like every single thing is right there. You guys are both making the same gesture, and I'm not sure what you're gesturing. Oh, is that my my Pollyanna nature?
Just that you're such a positive guy, Pat, that you love a good happy ending.
I do when it's understandable. Like if it's left in this amorphous void where, okay, well, what happened? Did he get the money or did he not? You know,
right? And sometimes you have to massage that out of a story.
Yeah, sometimes you do. Only when you're sailing on the ocean.
So
Great movie.
Moving on. This one I did see in the theater. My dad was a big Mel Gibson fan. He loved Mad Max. He loved the movie Gallipoli. He loved The Year of Living Dangerously. Like he loved a lot of the early Mel Gibson stuff. So I would imagine, knowing that this was a Western adventure comedy with Mel Gibson in it. My dad might have even watched the old TV show too, but this was definitely one that I remember going to the theater to see. So we would have been there right away and probably watched it at least a couple more times as a kid growing up. We didn't own it, but it would have been one I'm sure my dad would have rented at some point too. So yeah, he was always a big Mel Gibson fan, especially his early movies. So this is definitely one that was in the rotation from pretty early on.
And I want to say, maybe it was even on the pod just the other day, I was saying, man, I really wish could see Jodie Foster in a more lighthearted role. Like, I feel like all the movies that I've seen her in, it's more serious, like a serious character and all that. So it was like, wow, this is like the Ace of Spades appearing on the top of the deck. This is just what I was asking for. So how fun.
Now, did any of you guys, has anybody seen the original TV show?
I have not. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. My dad would watch it.
Okay. All right.
I don't remember everything about it. I just remember watching, it was on.
Okay. Well, because this is
more. You're there for a Saturday or Sunday or whatever day. And it just like Honeymooners was on, just like, you just know those sort of shows were on.
Okay.
And I'm sure, I remember watching episodes. I don't remember seeing every episode or being like the major fan back then, like where I was just like, oh, got to watch it. It wasn't that, but I do remember it being on and my dad watching it a lot.
Okay. All right. The original Maverick TV show, was it partly a comedy or was it more of a drama? Because, I mean, this very much has a lot of comedy elements in it, and I don't know if that's because of Mel Gibson or if it's because the original TV series was, a bit of a comedy.
I felt it was more from what I remember, and again, I haven't seen the old one since. I remember it being a little bit more serious.
Okay.
But again, it was kind of like, I don't want to say Perry Mason or something like that. Because how like all those old TV shows would have a very serious sort of story going on. And then there'd be the lighthearted moments between characters and regulars.
Like Little House on the Prairie.
Kind of like Little House on the Prairie. Yeah. So it kind of had its lighter episodes. It had its more serious episodes, or even not Dick Van Dyke, but or Andy Griffith. But it was more like, I felt it was a little bit more serious.
This week on a very special episode of Maverick.
I wonder if there's a commercial for the old one or something, or an episode. There's got to be.
Yeah, I want to go watch it.
I'll have to look at that now that you mentioned. That's a good question because, I feel like the tone was a little bit more serious.
Okay, all right. Because I did find something that did say, well, the Wikipedia page for the old TV show says that it had comedic overtones, but I don't know how much that kind of fit. I mean, because this is very much a comedy. So I wasn't sure if this is something where they upped the comedy a bit for a modern audience, or if it was, because one of the things about Richard Donner is I know, and I remember watching some video from when he passed away, a bunch of different actors and directors were kind of remembering him as a director. And one of the things they always commented on was he always tried to stay as true to source material or a script as he possibly could as a director. And so I was just curious if it was a fairly comedic TV show, Was he staying, close to that, or was it that William Goldman, in writing this screenplay, inserted more comedy and therefore that's where it came from? I wasn't sure. Yeah, so I was curious if any of you guys had seen the old one or not.
Well, and it's always interesting when you see those. I mean, the only other one I can think of that with like old time show that then reboots is Dragnet, right? Which I have not seen the old show of Maverick to make that comparison, but when you look at something, Maverick was late 50s, right?
Yeah, I think like 57 maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Premiered in 57.
So that's like what, 30 some years before? No, almost 40 years, right? Because it's about 35 years before this movie came out. So even like what you would call, lighthearted comedic overtones in the late 50s is very different than how we look at that in the 90s.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's always an interesting study as well, is to see, how things switched based on the sensibilities of the audience. I just want to say that the whole thing with the Native Americans, when he walks up to him and he's like, wave your hands and just say a bunch of stuff. And then the guy's just like, you guys are a bunch of a-holes. I mean, it's just, that writing just seems so refreshingly funny to me. I just thought that was great.
I think that's probably my favorite part of the whole movie, is that whole scene where he's there with Graham Greene's character Joseph, and that's got to be my favorite part of the whole thing. And he wants to hear these drums all the time,
and
it's just driving him crazy. And I think at some point, like he's like speaking different languages, and the Archduke doesn't even notice what the different languages are.
Yeah.
It's
just so good. And I really feel like I don't feel any of the actors in this like phoned it in. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like all the performances seemed very polished, and just everyone seemed to be, it was like everyone was on board and wanted to make this a great film, because like the actors all did exactly, I suppose, what actors are supposed to do. They made me want to watch them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when Jodie Foster was on screen, I wanted to watch everything James Garner's on screen, I want to watch everything he does. Mel Gibson's, I want to watch, it just, I couldn't look away. And
and I wonder if some of that is just because of the casting. When you have actors of an older generation that come from an older Hollywood, in which like phoning it in would never cut it.
Right.
Would never cut it. James Coburn and James Garner would never have become actors if they were ever just phoning it in. So I think you have them on set, and you have them leading by example. And then you have other actors such as Alfred Molina, who is very classically trained.
Yeah.
Who, he'll bring it every time. And, that's not to say that Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster don't, but I think being surrounded by the right people really ups the ante, no pun intended. And, again, having Coburn and Garner on set, you don't want to slouch around when you're around, Hollywood royalty like that.
Yeah. I mean, even the bit part actors, like when he goes to the bank and that's about to get knocked over by Danny Glover, the guy that was like the bank manager, the bank teller or whatever, that guy was fantastic. This one was 10 out of 10 for this one.
I really appreciate how they didn't try to hide anything about who Maverick was. Right. Like early on, he sits at the poker table and says, I'm going to lose pretty badly for the first hour or so, but then I think I'm going to do all right. And then, he explains himself later. Like, what did you think I was doing for that first hour? I was learning everybody's tell. I was taking in the game. I was studying everybody. And then I went on to win. Like, he didn't keep any secrets about who he was, other than the fact that he's related to Cooper. But but for his own character, he didn't hide anything. And they made sure that we, the viewing audience, didn't feel as though we had to be suspicious of him.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that he would eventually explain himself in some capacity.
And I guess if you had seen the old TV show, it sounds like one of the hallmarks of the old TV show was exactly what you get in this movie, where, I mean, in every episode, they would win a bunch of money, but then there was some kind of moral dilemma. And that typically they'd win all this money, but then they'd somehow have to give it back, or they'd somehow have to like spend it in some way because their morals would trump their need for money. And so they would constantly be winning, and then whoop, it's gone. Oh, well, next adventure, move on to the next town. I did read something funny. Apparently Roger Moore played a third, I don't think he was a brother, but because in the old TV show they were brothers. It wasn't like a father-son thing. They were brothers in the show, and then I guess there was a third one that was a cousin that teamed up with them for some of the seasons, and it was Roger Moore ended up playing that character.
Fantastic.
So James Garner, Roger Moore, and I forget who the third Maverick was, but there were three Mavericks at some point during the TV show.
All right.
I'd be curious if Roger Moore was doing an American accent.
I think it's great that they got James Garner to be in the film.
Yeah.
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 I mean, given his history, Westerns, given his history with the TV series, and the movie ended up being really, it's really a nice homage to the Western genre that he did so much with.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I've really enjoyed about the last three Western movies, and we may have done more, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head. The last three Westerns we've covered on the podcast, which is over the course of the early 90s, with all the Western movies, Unforgiven, Tombstone, and Maverick, and all of we've done Young Guns, we've done those too, but
Wyatt Earp.
Wyatt Earp, yep, we did Wyatt Earp. I really enjoy when they do bring in all of the cameos, like when they pay tribute to others who have worked in the Western genre, and they bring him in, and this one brings him in, pun intended, this one brings him in spades. Like, there are just tons and tons and tons of people, like country music artists and Western actors, and they do just a great job of that, and I love it when that happens. I love it when a particular genre film will pay tribute to people who have come before and bring them in for a bit part or just to show up in the background somewhere or whatever, but in some way to kind of pay tribute to the fact that, look, here are the people that got us to where we are today. I've said it before. That's one of the reasons that I think I really love the TV show Mad About You, is because Mad About You was just a constant stream of, let's bring in Mel Brooks, let's bring in Sid Caesar, let's bring in all the people that have made TV comedy and movie comedy what it is, and let's have them show up in different parts. Let's bring in Carl Reiner. So I always love it when a TV show or a movie does that and really pays tribute to the people that have come before. And this movie does that so well.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
So we've kind of already covered this a bit. I am going to ask just a real quick, do you have a favorite scene in here? I've already kind of said that my favorite scene is just the whole exchange between Maverick and Joseph, and just Joseph's hilarious and very progressive comments about what's going on with the Native community. In fact, one of my favorite lines was Maverick tells him, "You sure do pick the spots." And Joseph says, "I know. The next time you people come and drive us off our land, I'm going to find a nice piece of swamp that's so god-awful, maybe you'll leave us alone."
No, I know.
But that whole scene is absolutely hilarious.
I'd say final poker scene. It'd just be
Yeah.
That final poker scene is so well done.
Yeah.
And there's a build to, it's like
because I mean, you know that he's going to get the ace, but at the same time, you're still not sure.
Mm-hmm.
You're still not sure. The only way that I like, because I thought about that scene a lot the first couple times I saw this, and I thought, okay, so it's rigged, right? They're cheating, they're dealing from the bottom, whatever. The only way to ensure, if they're dealing from the bottom, the only way to ensure that he's not getting the card he needs is to put it at the opposite end of the deck, in this case, the top.
Mm-hmm.
But because he draws attention to it, now Angel draws one card off the top. He has no choice but to go to the top of the deck. Where if you're rigging a deck and you're trying to keep those cards separate from each other, that, to me, that'd be the way you do it.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing after watching it many times, and they're going, okay, so maybe he had an idea that ace of spades would be on the top of the deck since he knew it was rigged.
Yeah.
But yeah, that final, I mean, I really enjoyed the whole tournament. Once they get on the steamship, that's just a really fun part of the movie.
Yeah. Beautiful scenery, beautiful sets, beautiful locations.
Yeah.
I like the stagecoach scene. That was some fun comedy, some great action, some great stunt riding where the guy's hopping from the stage to the horse to the, I thought that was pretty cool.
I feel like I read somewhere that one of the horses almost stumbled, and if the horse had stumbled, just the speed they were going and everything else, that the stunt person would not have fared well.
Yeah.
Like there was some concern. There was a scene where I guess a horse almost stumbled and fell, and just the combination of circumstances would not have ended well for probably the horse or the stuntman.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, you get horses going that fast, that's the thing now, it's like, it's not CGI. I mean, like back at that point, you're right. It's just people out on horses going really fast and doing cool things. I mean, that's, you watch that on camera, it's like, man, that's pretty cool. I want to say that the whole thing with the guy being dragged underneath the stagecoach, somehow there was a connection to where that was the same guy that did it in Raiders, or it was the brother of the guy that did it in Raiders, or the cameraman was the guy that did it in Raider, or somehow, but like being dragged under the stagecoach, there is some connection to the being dragged under the truck in Raiders. I can't remember exactly what the connection was, but that was a pretty cool stunt too. And then the callback when he's like, hey, we got you surrounded, whistle. And they can't whistle. And he's like, what are you fixing the wheel back there again?
Another wheel coming off?
A wheel coming off. That is so funny. That is just great. Oh my God.
During the that final poker game when Annabelle holds her breath and that becomes her new tell, and she just goes around the table. Did I hold my breath? Did I hold my, and they're all just like, yep. Yeah, you did. Even the dealer's like, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I'll even throw, like, I'll come back and say then also like a bunch of just the interaction between Annabelle and Mel Gibson and Maverick, but throughout the film, like it's just a good little, the chemistry I thought was really good between those two throughout I felt it was between the two actors and actress there. But was it the one where he's like, I need you to do something for me? He ends up having her do his shirt, and she's like, and he's like saying something like, like if I went to bed, I'd wake up with something missing. I don't know what I'd have missing. All that. Yeah. Just the play of the two was good. Mm-hmm. Kind of shoves it through a window, I think I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This movie just doesn't take itself too seriously the way that a lot of, I think, Westerns have, a lot of card playing movies have. This movie just, it doesn't take itself too seriously. So it just makes it a lot more enjoyable for everyone, right? There are a number of card playing movies that if you don't play cards, you're really not going to get a lot of the nuance of part of the film. This one, just there's a lot of explanation for those that don't play cards to understand some things, and it's very approachable for everyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't dumb anything down. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's a very fun watch of a movie.
Yeah.
Surprised I don't own it. That's shocking to me.
I bet you will soon.
I might have.
I feel like Pat will too.
4K.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. I love how they shoot the guns out of people's hands. I mean, because that's the classic Western, right? Like, and he's sitting there fanning the gun, bam, 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 bam. And there's one point when the guy drops the gun, he's like, ow, my hand. Or sometimes it's just like, oh, that is great. He didn't just say, ow, my hand.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he just I went back, ow, or it's ouch, or my arm, or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is great. That is absolutely outstanding.
Well, I did look it up real quick. If you want to own it on physical media, they do have a Blu-ray version. They do not have a 4K, but they do have a Blu-ray.
How much is that running?
If you are, let's see, if you go on the Amazon route of things, it looks like it's about $16.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's not too bad. If you want just a straight up DVD, it looks like it's about $5. So, options are there.
There are some.
Anything else you guys want to say before we move into 3 questions?
No.
Okay. All right. It's time for 3 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, question number 1. Favorite card game?
I'll go first. 5-card stud.
Okay.
Just simple. And I guess the reason I would say is because that was one of the more popular or more prevalent games that we played as kids with my dad. We actually did poker nights. My dad had a bit of a gambling problem later on, but when the gambling boat started, but when that whole thing happened, it was more poker machines at that point. But actually, card games. I mean, I remember they used to have like the church, what do they call them, church smokers or church bazaars, things like that, where they would go and they would have like casino night. Mm-hmm. So he would go do those things, and then I remember us learning and us teaching us about poker and about bluffing and about all those things. So literally, all 5, my 5 of us, my brothers, and then my dad would play. And my mom didn't want, we did pennies and nickels. So we did do money at some point. And then I know my mom was like, oh, they shouldn't be losing their money. So then I think my dad did it where he brought out the chip thing. It was like the old school, like chip, we'd all get red, blue, whatever. And they all stood for something else. So she would come by and she would see us playing with chips, only for those chips to be cashed in for the end for real money when she would see you'd all walk around after, and somebody'd be walking over, giving somebody $2 or $3, or it wasn't like ridiculous amount, but it's like all of a sudden like the game's over and people are settling up behind the scenes.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So 5-card stud was the biggest one, is that I would say that I remember playing. You guys know how that one plays or no?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's where you get the 1 up, 1 down, then you slowly every round of betting. So you don't reveal your last. So you to start off the game, you have 1 card down, 1 card up. And then you go and you bet. And only you could see, obviously, the one that's down. And then all of a sudden, then you go through another round and you lay down a card face up. So the 4 cards will be faced up in the end. Your 1 card you don't reveal to the last round. So there's a little bit of like, what's the bluffing? What's the betting? And do you stay? Do you fold? So that was the most common one we did. So, yeah.
And you can look at your card?
Yeah. Blackjack would be a little second, but there's a whole system to blackjack. And I remember that was more like when I was in probably late high school, early college, got a little more into blackjack, but because we had a teacher who was a math teacher at St. Joe's. He was trying to figure out a system. St. Joe's, the one that's featured in Hoop Dreams. And I remember we went there to like 10 o'clock at night, and there was like a bunch of us, and we all had to play. And so nobody was gambling over money. So it wasn't anything like that really, but it was literally, we all had a certain thing we had to do if we had this card or that card. So we had like a script we had to follow, and he was trying to see like who wins. It was like which system works the best if you play it, if there was anything to these systems.
Yeah, it wasn't gambling. It was for science.
It was exactly that. We were learning about probability and statistics.
Yeah.
Mr. Q. Shout out. Big movie fan too.
If
we actually made a movie game, like trivia.
If we're talking traditional deck of cards, then I'd probably say Rummy.
Yeah, that's mine.
Would be mine. If we're talking just any game with cards, I would go with Phase 10.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have played Phase 10 before.
Yeah.
But when I was in college, we would have Phase 10 games that would last. I mean, it'd be a big group of people. So, I mean, it would last into the wee hours of the morning.
Awesome.
So, yeah, otherwise Rummy or Solitaire if there's no one else around.
Yeah, mine would be Rummy too. If it was a straight up regular deck of cards, Rummy. Otherwise, I've always been terrible at card games. So the only other one that I could think of is Rook. I used to play Rook a lot with my grandpa.
Huh.
So I'd go with that one too.
Huh. Yeah.
Pat, card game?
Uno. Although I really like Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. That one's pretty fun too. My family won't play that one with me. They say I cheat.
Oh, I don't think I know that one.
Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to check it out, man. It's all the rage. It's all the rage. There's cards, and one has a taco on it. One has a cat. Then there's a goat. Then there's a cheese. There's pizza. And then as you put them down, you take turns and you say taco, cat. And if you lay down a card that doesn't match what you're saying, like if it's your taco, cat, goat, but you get cheese when it's goat, you let it go. But if it matches, you got to be the first to slam your hand down on the card. And then if you're the first, then the other person has to take the card. And then whoever has the least amount of cards wins the game.
Is this a real card game, or did you just try to give us a cognitive test?
Nope, that's a real card game. I can pull it out. It's down. It's like in our card thing. And then what you got to do is when the other person, like, you like, cause you all slam your hands down on the deck and whoever gets there fastest. And then you got to like teach the other people to not mess with you. So you smack their hand as hard as you can and it gets in the way. But anyways, my family accuses me of cheating and all that kind of stuff. So that's a sore subject.
Okay.
But New Year's, someone taught me to play euchre. They're like, we need a fourth. And so they taught me to play euchre. And that was exciting. It was a fun group of people that, we were with. And I had like 6 people telling me what to do. And then they would all argue with each other about what the best course of action was. I mean, it was like Daniela walked up as during the New Year's Eve party. She goes, why is everyone yelling? I'm like, I'm not sure. Everyone yelling at you? I said, well, yes, but no. They are yelling at me, but they're not yelling at me. So euchre was fun. My grandpa taught us to play cards and gamble and, like poker and all that kind of stuff. But there were some serious card games in college. I remember these guys would get together and man, they would play and it was for a lot of money. I mean, even not like poor college students, it was a lot of money. And I remember there was this one guy, you'd hang out in the music department, everyone hang out, play cards and all that. And I never play because I'm terrible at games. And sometimes I have a short attention span. So after about 2 minutes, I get bored of whatever I'm doing. I got to go out and move or do something else. But I remember there's this one guy, he's a senior, and it was all the seniors and all that were playing. And he's just like, man, this is such a hazing thing. This is awful. He says, you bring all these freshmen in and it's like, say, hey, be part of the group. We all play cards. It's okay. It's only $1 ante and all that, and then they take these kids for all that it worth. Like he had like serious problems for it. And it was just like, yeah, it was so-and-so $600. And it's like, what? Wow. And yeah, that was rough, man.
All right. Question number 2. And question number 2, it was requested that I soften the blow on this one. So Jeff, this is for you. I softened the blow on this and I did not make it, what is your favorite James Garner role? Instead, the question is, what is your favorite James Coburn role?
I'm still angry at you.
I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Angry at you or angry with you?
I think that's easy. I think it's a better question.
Angry around me.
I think of you and I get angry.
That's par for the course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's like you're at work.
Right, yeah. My answer actually was, this is the first one that I just thought of right off the top of my head because it's one of my favorite episodes. I'm going to go with an episode of The Twilight Zone where he plays, is it Major French, I think is his character's name. It's the old man in the cave.
Oh.
Yeah. And I don't want to say too much about the episode. The episode, I will tell you a little bit about the episode, but I don't want to give away the ending of it. It is set 10 years after the people of America, or maybe Earth as a whole, have basically destroyed themselves. Like, we've set off nuclear bombs and we've destroyed society, and there's just small groups of survivors left, and there's this little town where they claim that they get information that keeps them alive from the old man in the cave, and nobody but the one guy in town has ever spoken to the old man or gotten notes from the old man, but the old man has given them information so that they can continue to live and survive in this town. And all of a sudden one day this Jeep rolls up with some military guys claiming to be the new authority in the area, and they could care less about the old man in the cave. They want food and they want a place to stay, and some of what they want goes against what the old man has advised, and things go awry. So, but James Coburn plays the lead military guy. I think Major French, I think was his name in that episode. But yeah, old man in the cave.
I'm surprised you didn't go with the Muppet movie.
There's that one too. Yeah, doesn't he own the restaurant?
Yeah,
in the Muppet movie. Yeah, I'd go with that one too. Yeah, but I really like this Twilight Zone episode. Patrick, what do you got?
Great Escape.
Oh yeah, I should have known.
Yeah, and if you switch it to your other optional question too, my answer is The Great Escape.
Still Great Escape. Yeah. I need to record you. Well, I have recorded you saying that. Maybe I just need to record that, and anytime I ask you a question you don't want to answer, I'll just press the button and it'll have you saying, my answer is The Great Escape.
Great Escape.
I mean, that's a solid answer for most questions.
Right.
Even if it doesn't make sense, it's always a good answer.
Right.
Most of the best answers out there don't make any sense.
Right. That's fine. Dennis, what about you?
Since I knew Pat was going to say that, which would have been my choice, and then we just repeat the same thing. And
we can daily double it. I don't
want to daily double it though, because it's known and it's good, and people are going to hear that, and I want them to hear something that they might not hear. But I'm going to go with, I think, underrated, one of the spaghetti westerns. I'm going to go with Fistful of Dynamite. They might also, I think the name is Duck You Sucker, but Fistful of Dynamite is what they also known as. So more it's what I remember it as. So old spaghetti western. 1971, the year I was born. So my dad watched a lot of those, So that was a great score in there too. That's the Ennio Morricone.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the better soundtracks. So I think it doesn't get its credit for one of the spaghetti westerns. Like, people remember all the other ones, but I think that's a good one. So I'm giving it a plug, and I'm going to throw that one down.
I'm going to go with Magnificent Seven.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to say those too. So,
although I would also say Mr. Waternoose from Monsters Inc.
I was to say anytime you just get to hear his voice, you could pick any of those.
Tell everyone, I won. You lost. I love that. I'm going back to the knife scene.
Oh, so good.
All
Bo's
right.
Bo's answer was the El Sleazel Cafe owner from Muppet Movie.
Yes. Okay.
And his answer for number one favorite card game is Cribbage.
Cribbage. Yeah.
Okay. Cribbage.
Okay. Well, good. We had the Muppet Movie covered with Bo. So, and finally, question number 3: if you were going to be stuck in a stagecoach on a long journey with 2 other Western movie or TV show characters, who would they be? Bo's answer was Bart and Jim from Blazing Saddles.
I'm going with Chris Adams and Vin Tanner from Mag 7.
Yeah.
That's Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen's characters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with William Money.
All right.
And I'm going to go with Marshal Kane, or Sheriff Kane. Well, Gary Cooper from High Noon.
Yep.
And again, that question though, when you the way you phrased it, I think that needed a little bit. Is this like I'm picking somebody a little bit more fun and funny if it's like we're going on a journey, but it's not like really dangerous. But if I'm going across during the time period, factor is the time period.
Yeah.
If I need some, those are two guys I'm feeling pretty protected by. Like I'm feeling good about that.
All right.
Now, when Marty McFly goes back in time.
Yeah, there you go. Are we talking good time? Or are we talking like for my life? You know, that's the difference. Am I like in survival mode here? The real threat of the West, or is this just kind of, hey, we're just it's 2000 and whatever, and we're going across the country in a stagecoach for some reason, just having a good time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, because I honestly, I'm thinking about this.
Because I might pick a girl at that point. there's a lot of things there. I might be picking a woman. Annabelle, maybe. Although.
What were you gonna say, Pat?
Well, see, I think Maverick from this movie would have to be in the running, right? Because, I mean, he just seems like a fun guy to go with. Billy, the kid from Young Guns, would be fun. I mean, I have to go with Blondie / the gunfighter with no name from, the spaghetti westerns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My answer for this one, I picked a couple of guys who have been in a bunch of different Western movies, and I think I would just sit back and let them have a conversation and just listen. Because combination of probably their ability to tell a story or have a dialogue and just their voices, I'm just going to sit back and be a spectator. I pick Graham Greene, Joseph from this movie, or, in Dances with Wolves and a ton of other Western movies, and Sam Elliott. So if I'm stuck in a stagecoach, I'm picking those two guys and just listen to them tell stories back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Butch and Sundance, they'd be fun to go with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Butch and Sundance would be good.
Yeah.
What's his name? Wyatt Earp from Tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt Earp from Tombstone, and oh man, I'm just I had all these combos that I'm like, oh, this would be great. This would be great. Now it's all going on in my head.
Doc Holliday?
Yeah, Doc Holliday. Well, it could be Wyatt and Doc. It could be Doc Holliday. Could be Doc Holliday and the Waco Kid from Blazing Saddles.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a fun.
Or you could go from Wyatt Earp. You could go Wyatt Earp and Tombstone and have Doc Holliday and Doc Holliday.
You could do that. Django from Django Unchained. The D is silent. But then there was also the dentist in there. I forget his name.
Christopher Waltz.
Yeah, I forget the character he played, like the character's name. But yeah,
King Schultz.
Yeah, King Schultz.
Yeah,
yeah. Those guys would be fun to take a trip with.
I'm still mad that he gets it in that movie.
I know.
He wouldn't have. He's too good, too smart.
Yeah, I know.
That's the one.
Django.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our 3 questions. That's going to do it for our Maverick episode.
Only because I'm curious. Favorite James Garner role?
Oh, we're going. After you told me not to.
I know.
You're adding rows to the spreadsheet.
I'm adding questions to the spreadsheet.
Uh-huh.
And this is TV or movie? What are we doing here?
Whatever.
I grew up, the one that pops out me right away is got to be the Rockford Files. It's James Rockford. We watched that a lot. My dad, my parents, that was on in the house all the time for TV. So let me think movie. But you guys can go ahead while I'm thinking a movie, because I was not prepared, because I was told this question would not be on the test.
See, yeah.
Well, be prepared for anything on this podcast.
Well, that's also true.
I did like him in Space Cowboys too.
Oh, Space Cowboys was such a great movie.
Oh man, that might be.
Nobody's going with The Notebook?
Notebook?
No.
What's The Notebook?
What did Jeff give his?
I didn't give mine yet.
Jeff
No.
didn't do his yet? Okay. He's watching us squirm.
Well, apparently you've thought of it and then didn't think of it. Thought of it.
There's only one answer for me, so this doesn't make me squirm at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it Twilight?
Twilight? What the heck is Twilight? Talk about The Great Escape.
Yeah, man.
My Fellow Americans is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, My Fellow Americans. This is great.
Does he play? He plays the president in that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've actually got, I think, 2 answers for this one because they show different sides of. Well, I've got a lot of answers for this one.
Yeah.
But 1984 movie Tank. I don't know if you guys ever saw that one.
Tank.
No,
Okay.
Oh my God, you guys would love it.
Comedy. Kind of, I remember that a bit. Yeah, see Thomas Howell's in that. God, I remember seeing it, but I don't remember anything about that movie.
Oh, I love that movie. And then the other one which I think Tank might have been my first movie that I ever saw him in, but another movie I saw early on that he was in was with Sally Field called Murphy's Romance.
Oh yeah.
And that was another great film. 1985, I think that one came out.
Okay.
So both of those they're very different films, but both very enjoyable. Tank, I think you guys would really get a kick out of.
Romance. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Well, the one I mean, I do like. I'm trying to think. I mean, I do like My Fellow Americans, but wasn't he one of the ones that kind of was very memorable that we did pretty recently? Wasn't he the like FBI or police investigator in Fire in the Sky?
Yes.
Yeah. Like I felt that was kind of a very different role for him. Like it was almost like the shift from Wilford Brimley in Cocoon to Wilford Brimley in The Firm.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a very different one. So I'm not saying that's going to be my pick, but that was a very memorable one that we did pretty recently. I don't know. I like him in My Fellow Americans. I like him in Maverick. I might have to pick Maverick too.
You guys watch the Rockford Files or no?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
I think I was just on probably the cusp of like where that was pretty popular on TV still, like reruns. Just like it's syndication reruns all the time. That was just a regular. And I think I want to say it was a time I came home, like school, and we had a certain time right around dinner, before dinner. I remember the theme. Cool theme.
Yeah. All those old shows, like that's the next binge thing I want to go. I want to do the Rockford Files. I want to do the Untouchables. I want to do Mannix. I want to, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to just check out those old shows and watch them all.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can pull that theme up. Yep, remember the phone call.
Oh.
This is Jim Rockford. At the tone, leave your name and message. I'll get back to you.
You're full of bullshit, my friend. I will sue you for everything you have. I will sue your ass.
Yeah. Remember that theme?
Yeah, not regularly. I remember watching a few episodes here and there, but not regularly. Yeah. Well,
So,
I mean,
Pat, what are you watching tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Are you watching Great Escape? Are you watching Mag 7?
I think I mean,
Space Cowboys, The Notebook.
I don't know about this Notebook you speak of, but maybe I'll take your first three.
You watch that with Tammy. It's a nice little.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but
yeah.
Bring the tissues.
Bring the tissues.
All right. That's my kind of movie right there.
All right. Did everybody give their answer to the question that should not have been?
Yeah. Great Escape.
Sorry, everyone.
You're not sorry.
I've been thinking about it, and I was curious to what you all were thinking about it. And
you're not sorry, and you just beat me to it anyway. I was going to be really mean, and I thought for like a couple seconds about asking a fourth question.
I beat you at your own game.
You did, yeah.
I'm going to relish this because it doesn't happen often.
Relish.
And now we're the 30-something food podcast.
Yeah, we are. All right. Well, we're hungry, or we want to go watch other movies, so we're probably going to wrap this one up. So Pat has like 4 movies to watch tonight anyway, so.
Yeah.
But yes, this has been our Maverick episode. If you want to find more of our episodes, you can head over to 30podcast.com, where we have a plethora, I believe you could say we have a plethora, of episodes over there, over 500 that you can choose from. If you want to join us on Patreon, we have over 50 episodes over there in the bonus feed. Plenty of good stuff over there to have some fun with as well. This brings our month of July, our fun and games month, where we covered sports movies, games movies. This brings this one to an end, and we are headed into August next, and August is the Outside the Ordinary month. Our regular movies for the month are, and I always tend to change the title for this one just a bit. We start off with Highlander 2, The Crappening. Then we have The Hudsucker Proxy, Ed Wood, Forrest Gump, and Immortal Beloved.
Did we watch The Hudsucker Proxy?
For the podcast?
Yeah, I'm thinking of Hudson Hawk. Never mind. I shouldn't interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. They are, Hudsucker Proxy is the spiritual successor to Hudson Hawk.
Yeah, no, you're just nothing.
That's not true at all. They have nothing in common with each other other than they have H's. And that's pretty much it. And then our Patreon episodes we've got our Patreon shorts. I'm going to try to do a couple this month because there are, for the month of August, because there are 2 movies that I really, really want to see that are coming out at the very end of July. And I think either early or mid-August. End of July is Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out. And I will absolutely be there the night that it opens. So if any of you gentlemen want to go see it, let me know. Because I will be there because I really, really enjoy all the Deadpool movies. And then I believe early to mid-August is the new Alien movie, Alien Romulus, is coming out. So I'll try to do some Patreon shorts, little 10 to 15-minute reviews of both of those movies in there. And then I don't know whether I should be apologizing for this one, but our August Patreon full-length episode is Damselvis, Daughter of Helvis. We finally get the opportunity to watch in all of its glory.
It's an opportunity, all right.
It is an opportunity, and I know some of you. I don't know, Pat. I don't know if you and Bo were watching part of it when I shared a file with you, and you had the opportunity to watch some moments.
Yeah, we had the opportunity, all right.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun stuff.
Yeah.
Is it now?
Oh, yeah, just tonight. Go watch some, Jeff. Yes, try some.
I think it is.
Have some.
Well, if it's any consolation, the other one of the movies I did last month for the other Patreon short was called Shatter Dead, and it is very, very similar. It's a shot-on-video movie, like extremely low budget shot-on-video thing, and it's pretty much the same as Damselvis, Daughter of Helvis, except it's a lot shorter. Actually, I think it is shorter. I don't remember. But anyway, the whole shot-on-video thing is just it's like the super low budget. They had a video camera and a dream and a wish and maybe $20. And that's what they made. I'm tending to believe, just the last couple that I've watched, I tend to believe that most of these shot-on-video things are just some excuse for a guy to get a bunch of his buddies together and just make a movie and have fun with it.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
So, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, the acting, some of the writing leaves a little to be desired, but
it's like a guy that gets his buddies together to talk about movies.
Right. Yeah.
And the writing and the opinions leave something to be desired.
Exactly.
No, I always, I know some people who've done some low budget sort of stuff and medium budget.
Not those kind of films, Dennis.
Well, I've done those. Hey, you're going to pay me $20. I'm game.
I think I found that on a Russian website too, Dennis.
I wasn't Russian. It was just,
no, didn't have to be.
You know what? I always sort of want to like go like, God, how do they now know it's not? Like, how do they not know that it's bad? Or how do they go ahead and still do it? But then at the same time, I'm like, you know what? They made something, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So I can't throw stones.
Do we call that?
They did something, whether it was good or bad. In the end, they followed through and they did something. So I can't knock that.
Let's keep that in mind when we watch The Room.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, do people just have? Is there like the Tommy Wiseau gene that some people have, where it's just like, I think this is amazing.
I think so. I really do. Like, I think some people love, but see, that's what's weird is you could think like, because if you love movies so much, which people do who do this, you love movies so much that you would think that having seen so many movies, which ones are like, that's a good movie, that's not a good movie.
Yeah.
And then when you're making something and that it's not up to par of those quality, you would be disappointed and you kind of would throw in the towel. I would think that's what I would do. So like I've always said, like I can tell if I'm making something and it's crap. And if it's crap, I don't want to make it. I don't know if that's the right ad. I don't know. As I'm getting older, I'm thinking.
Or to your point, if you just love movies so much that you have to make a movie, like it's just you got to get it out of you. You have to make a movie that you don't have the budget and the resources to make this movie with high quality actors and high quality writing and everything else, production value, but you just got to make it. Maybe that's it.
I go to two things with that. I'm either going to write something that I can pull off low budget, and that will work. So it changes the way you would want to write and what your story ideas would be limited. Or you go, I'm just going to write this and I'm going to sell it to somebody who can make it as good as it should be.
Right. Yeah.
Don't know if I would follow through with it and do it half-ass unless I was literally thinking maybe I'm going to do it just so people can kind of have an idea of the movie and then sell it.
Right.
But like, I don't, it's the equivalent of you're a writer, John, and I'm sure there's been many times where back in the day when you had a pen and paper and it was in the waste can, and then the waste can just piles up because it's not good enough for you, know, like, and I would think that you would think somebody who's a big fan of film would sort of have that same, I think that's like a big thing of creatives is you've got that resistance, like, no, this isn't good. I know this isn't good.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you give up, but you throw that one away and you keep working on something till it is good. And I don't have that bypass gene of where they can just be like, damn, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Howard the Duck is not going to be my best work, but I'm putting it out there anyway, because anybody that's going to criticize it hasn't made a movie either. And there might be like duck nudity in there, but that's okay.
That's where you draw the line.
I'm making something. So how does your statement hold up now, Dennis? I'm just,
duck boobs cancel everything.
Okay. I'm just checking.
It's just not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it maybe isn't the best acting, but it's got Vanilla Ice and motorcycles in it. I mean, that makes it awesome. I'm.
So this has been another episode of the 30-something movie podcast. It's been great to have you guys here together this evening, and yeah. I'm sorry, Pat. Were you saying something?
Oh, it comes back to Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Breaking 3. Vanilla Ice.
Howard the Duck is a masterpiece next to Cool as Ice. It is.
I hear words coming out of your mouth.
Uh-huh.
I just can't assemble them in any way that it makes sense to what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I guess another common thing I see too is people try to make a movie that's based on another movie. So it's like not the original idea, and they're just copying and spending all this money to make a movie that's already been done better, and you're going to make it worse.
But they're making something and you're not.
I know. I come back to that. So I beat myself.
Get off your ass and make a movie, man.
So wait, you're saying they're making something about another movie that was better than the movie they're making. But what if the movie they make about the movie is better than the movie they make the movie about, i.e. The Room?
Well, we got to finish The Band Director then. It's funny. I had the film class for summer school and I showed that again. None of these kids know.
This year?
Yeah. Oh. I needed to kill 7 minutes.
That's the title of my autobiography. I
So
need
many
to kill
lines
7
that
minutes.
there's so many pieces that when I look in there, like a lot of people are like, oh, go watch that band director trailer. It's so darn good. And kids are like, is there really a movie? I got to see this movie. Even kids who don't know you guys, they don't know any of the teachers. They're not even in middle school yet. They have no idea. They're like, where's the real movie? Can I get that? I want to watch that. And I'm like, and I go, yeah, but do you see the scenes? I want to be like, guys, like there's so many shots in there that are poorly done. Like the lighting's bad. You can't hear Pat saying, not my lesson plan for today. I hate that line because I can't hear it. Like, so I like critique it in my head. And I'm like, one day, Pat, we still have to reshoot that line with a proper mic.
I had to reshoot every other line about 642 times, so we may as well overdub that one too.
And then we have the lost Aaron footage.
Oh my God, she was just trying to get her grades done. It was like, we need you to be on screen and filming.
Well, that was kind of Jason. It was to be
I know.
Get her on Sunday. This scene will tie everything together.
3 hours we're filming. And it ends up on the cutting room floor.
We film it like 80 takes, and then all of a sudden, like, yeah, it's not going to make it in there.
Well, you heard it here first. We're going to be producing the full-length feature film of the band director.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
All right. 30 podcast production.
Yeah, there we go. That'll be our first movie. All right.
And our last.
And our last, most likely. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us. If you have not seen Maverick, go check it out. It is an awesome movie, fun movie, hilarious movie. Go check it out. But everybody be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies, and we'll see you back here next time.
Bring the lights down low, it's time to show. Lights, camera, you know what we mean. Behold the magic of the silver screen. Some movies rock, some movies shock. They're powerful, alright. We cover them all on your favorite part. So many movies we can choose. Even when you win, you lose. Life moves pretty fast. Some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no math. It's the 30-something movie podcast. Be excellent to each other. Peace out and word to your mother. They're from the best decades. Movie magic that never fades. Lightsabers clash, phasers set to